Good morning, everyone. So, Q&A's put a little bit of the segment up about the cashless debit card on their page. They haven't put up Edward Carroll's question that led into it, and they've deleted most of Keith Pitt's replies. Interesting. So, as you would have seen, I've posted it to the page here, and you can go to the Q&A Facebook page and make comments. But I'll be warned, if you making comments, okay, I've just been blocked from making comments, which is really unusual because I've never had that before. Replying to people who, and apparently my replying to comments, I can try again later, but it goes against community standards. And yet I haven't breached community standards with any of my comments. Haven't even been able to add any links in regards to the information. There's a few pro card trolls on there, of course. Some stinking comments, of course, which need to be treated, So people head over and make your comments and you can't post any photos in their comments. I've noticed that. And if you put too many links in, they'll ban you. I know, because John Sid had that happen to him with putting the links to the factual evidence and comments into ABC stuff in the past, and he got blocked from being able to comment and post on their pages. So apparently me replying to people and their comments goes against community standards, and I didn't breach community standards. So feel free, people, go in and be the army for me, because I can't reply to anybody. I don't know how long it's for. It just says try again later. I'll actually post, I took a screenshot of the warning that I got, and I'll post that up so that people are ready for it. It's called censorship, because, telling people the truth. It'd be interesting to see if any of my comments have been removed. No, it doesn't. I'll refresh and see what happens and see if any of my comments have been removed. So it's hard enough with this page. If somebody shares stuff on this page, I get a notification of it. When I click on it, it says it's blocked and I can't see it. So we know that they're fiddling with the ability. So I encourage people, keep sharing this page. Keep sharing the comments and the posts, right? Like and share and post all of our stuff everywhere, right? Copy paste it if you have to, because they are trying so hard to shut down our voice, again, as usual. So my mistake was, I think, one of my comments was, why is this such a short copy of the segment? Where is the rest of it, Q&A? Where is Edward Carroll opening question? Why has this been so heavily edited, right? Yeah. So I'll... let's talk about some of the comments. Because I screenshotted one. It's an absolute ripper. Somebody's asking, is Keith Pitt a major shareholder or director in Indue? Well, no, not on paper. We don't know what the fixation is. Probably something to do with the mining that he wants in his region as well, is all linked back to Twiggy Forrest. Each card region is a mining region, so they're all involved there. So of course we had somebody attacking Hanson Young's opinion, saying she's worthless, right? Blah blah blah. So I'll just go through. There's some strange comments here anyway, but I'm just wondering if stuff's being... Oh, the usual. This card is only in existence to try and help communities that tend to spend all their free public money on booze and smokes. It works. As a result, families are feeding their children better. What? Here we go. They're the Say Yes trolls coming in again. Kevin Everard, okay. It's always the same thing, isn't it? You know, where you can buy cigarettes on the card and you can buy alcohol on the card too. We got video proof of that. Gwyn 7 showed that as proof as well. But shh. You know, yeah. Yeah, somebody, I said to him, but you can buy smokes on the card anyways. And it's not stopped anyone from drinking any of the sites. But it's created a huge black market and brought back other issues that have been stopped as well. And it has, because in Ceduna, people are drinking meth. That went out years ago, but they do chip in anyway. They don't go without their alcohol. In other regions, sniffing is back, as in sniffing petrol, which is a real shame because they really fought really hard in communities to stop that, and they had stopped it, and it's back. You know what I mean? Because you're just treating people the wrong way. Oh dear. I'm just reading. Oh, another one's going on. This card is their saviour. Marge, this is the Q&A page. So when you punch in the search, put capital Q plus capital A Q&A page. You know, it's just... You know... Don't mind me, I'm reading comments, and I thought I'd just come on and share this with you, because I can't comment at the moment, because ABC's decided to mute me for I don't know how long. All right, I just can't comment. Come back later, it says. What, when they've edited everything, when they've cut out all the negative comments. ABC going the way of they under so much Murdoch control now. And this, there's a whole little group of people calling us leftists. All right, I'm getting sick of it. Oh, and here we go. Lincoln Bates. Or they could just be grateful you live in a country where social welfare even exists. All right. I said, wow. So you think people should be kissing feet to regain their legal rights, human rights and dignity just because they received their entitled, and yes, I said entitled, social security payments, after it is in our law that it is a right for any citizen to be able to access social security if they're eligible. And it's supposed to be without stigma or shame. Australians need to learn their rights. And instead of being told to be grateful like the slaves you are, be proud and fight to protect our social security system, along with our NDIS and Medicare, and stop this government privatising it all for the profits of their mates. Stop sitting back selling Aussies off for profits. All right? So... And somebody else said to that guy, oh, where we don't get shot, right? So this person comes back at me and says, I see you prefer to focus on things you don't have rather than being grateful for what you do have. Excuse me, to him. I'll fight for my rights. I'll fight for your rights. And I want you guys to stand up with me and fight for our rights. That's what we need to do. And people like him, we're fighting for his rights too. But he's too thick to see that. All right? So Ron says they're checking out his page and they're asking about his vape spending. That's none of their business, Ron. So you've got a couple of LNP trolls on there, because that's the first thing they do is go check out the pages. All right? So they're trying to quiz you about vaping. Oh, it's a lot cheaper than smoking. Unfortunately, my lungs don't do well with vape. I wish they did, because what can I do? But I'm paying my 87 cents per cigarette in tax. Or no, out of every dollar that you spend on a packet of cigarettes, 87 cents in every dollar is tax. So you can stick that up their bum and smoke it, because pay my taxes. Just like everybody else. Yeah, it seems to be paid trolls on here at the moment. Yeah, so I'm just... Yeah, there's a lot of odd accounts here. Lulu Gray. If certain people use their money to feed and clothe their kids instead of buying alcohol, drugs and go gambling, this wouldn't even be an issue. Living in the NT, you see why it's a necessity. Hanson Young lives in La La Land. Oh, living in the NT, you see it's a necessity. Really? Do they have pokies in the NT? I don't know. They don't have them in WA, right? Kununurra, East Kimberley, and the whole of the goldfields. They don't have poker machines there. And in the regions that do have poker machine spend went up after cashless debit cards come in. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, so... I'm just still going through these comments because it's not fair that Q&A haven't put the whole segment up. They haven't put up Edward's question, whereas normally they put up the whole segment. They haven't done it this time, right? I think that's really rude. They've only put up the little bit that they want to throw out there. And of course, Keith Pitt saying it's working. So it's all liberal slant. And the women that made comments are being dissed. Of course, disrespecting women, of course. But then again, we saw mansplaining on that show that night. It was disgusting the way that the women were spoken to that night on telly. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. But Darren Bunt. The card's purpose is to help vulnerable families whose selfish partners would otherwise waste their money on gambling and alcohol consumption. It's a social asset in that regard. But it doesn't work. That's right. It just doesn't work. And it traps women and children in domestic violence situations. And guess what? The working partner can take the person's injury card and use it to his own. We had a lady up here in Hinkler trapped in a relationship with a gambling addict, but he worked, so he wasn't on the card. But he took her card and he used her money on her card, right, leaving her with nothing, and she couldn't do anything about it. She couldn't get out. You know what I mean? She was trapped. And when we tried to say, we tried to say to her, change your password. She was afraid of being beaten up. She couldn't change her password. Oh, that's just the coercive control, the entrapment, the trapping of people's money. You can buy $5,000 worth of plastic shit at Kmart, but you can't pay your rent. You can't pay your car loan. You know, I'm not going to forget the horrific stories and the trauma that people have been put through in the Hinkler region, let alone across the rest of the country. I spoke to a 57-year-old First Nations person in, I'm not sure whether it was Laverton or Coolgardie, right? And she couldn't understand why 2 fortnights in the road there was only $10 in her pension on the card. Where was the rest of it? They were starving. No office to go to, no Centrelink to go to out there, right? And when she rang up, nobody could tell her. They didn't want to tell her, right? Where was her money? It's obviously heavily quarantined. It can be up to 90% up there in Kalgoorlie and that region, you know. But, and I saw, I can remember a post, our people are starving. And that post came from Coolgardie, because they can't access their money. And then we're hearing horror stories now of people who've got thousands trapped on that card. And they can only get $200 out every 28 days. But if they can't pay their rent, too bad. Or if they get caught using their cash portion to pay rent, to keep their accounts in order, their rent category, their rental allowance is reduced. as we saw with a lady last week who had her rent allowance reduced to $117 a fortnight. No one can pay rent on that. It was reduced from $1,040, right, to $117. It's bullshit, making sure that she will end up homeless. She will end up homeless. See, the majority of these people being impacted are women, right? May it be women of colour or women, general. Okay? Yes, it impacts men as well, but I can't get guys to talk to me. Right? Pride, whatever, depression. The guys that I have spoken to have become so depressed. And they recluse very quickly, and they can't handle it, and it's not fair. Right? But the women and the children are the ones that are mostly on it. And it's crap. It really is. Say No 7's now on the page commenting. Thank you. Because I can't comment. Because I'm banned from commenting till whenever. And I didn't even get to start with the nitty-gritty. I just... So, Darren Bunt just got his bunt handed to him. Alright? Because Amanda's jumped in and said, please provide proof of your claims of it being a social asset. Not one report in 14 years of forced third-party income management supports these claims, including the most recent report on the CDC, specifically by the Adelaide University independent evaluation teams that showed systemic failure. 71% worse off, 85.4% no positive impact. Meanwhile, 8 youths between 12 and 19 years of age have ended their lives in Hervey Bay alone in the last 2 months. Multiple suicides, self-injury has been reported from the first 3 sites since 2017, and over 128 agencies around Australia, including all Aboriginal peak bodies, the Australian Human Rights Commission, Australian Law Council and ACOS all oppose it. Even the ANAO said the program had failed to meet any KPI or objectives. We suggest that until you know the facts about the card, you be quiet. Yeah, this is crazy, you know. And then another one, the card's trapping women and children in devastating DV situations. All right, instead of being able to squirrel away cash to run, abusers now take their cards and control it even worse. There's no social asset to policy driving people to suicide, stripping their legal rights and protections away from them and leaving them homeless. Hinkler Card Zone is now number 1 for homelessness and youth suicide in Queensland thanks to this card. If you think more homeless and dead financially poor people is an asset, you're seriously warped. Right? So I'm reading Say No 7's comments here. Because, yeah, unfortunately sometimes I don't respond well enough. And I'm only on a laptop, so I just can't pull up stuff the way I want. Susan Balvick says, in 2021, we deserve better than this. There's much bigger impact on women and children who are already behind the 8 ball and trapped in horrid situations now have no way out. I remember back in 2017, the question was put to Senator Sue Lyons, right, from an older couple who had been married 43 years in the Kalgoorlie region, and she was crying because they'd been forced to separate their finances 50-50, and they'd been both put on the card, and they'd been married 43 years, okay, so it gives you an idea of their age group. And she said, I don't understand this. We've always had our joint accounts. And all of a sudden, I've got to financially divorce my husband. And it had a huge impact on that lady. And when Sue Lyons was asked why, they said, it was to protect women from domestic violence, to give them their own card, to give them their own money. No, it doesn't work that way. Because in a domestic violence situation, the perpetrator just takes the card and takes the password for the online portal. And that's it. They take financial control. That's how financial abuse. But that's on steroids. And that's what this card is, financial abuse. Services Australia and Indu dishing it out. And then for those that are stuck with a abuser. Sorry, I've got hiccups. It's a bit early in the morning. I haven't had breakfast yet. Oh dear. So, I'm just still going through these. Oh yes, the comment that I screenshotted that I was going to blow up: on welfare but wants autonomy. What does that say, hey? By Richard Stevenson. I'm going to name all these people because I'm sick to death of this. But wants autonomy. No, demands autonomy. Has every right to have autonomy. Is a citizen, right? And no different to anybody else. Where do these people get off? Right? That they seem to people on welfare should have no rights. Shouldn't have any legal protection, should not be able to get a lawyer, should not be able to get any recourse for damages caused, whether it be financial, physical, emotional, right? Wrong. Yeah, I mean, so Aaron Griffiths responded, yes, when I'm on there, I do. The autonomy to be able to choose to pay for food, accommodation, forced mandatory requirements without having to grovel or prove that is what the money is for. The autonomy not to have a bureaucrat decide when to reduce my allowance to pay rent because I'm catching up using my cash portion. The autonomy to decide how much goes to multinationals and to local businesses. That's what this card takes away from you. And when it hits my account, it's no longer taxpayer money. However, you run the risk that your employer will consider your wage his money, even though you earned it. That's a good point too. Now, we're still trying, I haven't heard any more, but I did hear a story of a guy that took a job in Kununurra, $68,000 a year job, and I'm not sure whether it's what the story is behind this. This is third-hand information. And when he arrived to start work, he was given an Indu card and told his wages are going on the Indu card because they've done some sort of deal with Indu in Kununurra to pay wages onto Indu cards. I haven't got confirmation of that, but the guy was on $68,000. It was a full-time job. All I know is he's moved from Adelaide to Kununurra for the job, and he was presented with, you'll be getting your cashless debit card in a few weeks. What? What? Seriously? However, then looking back through some information this week, people with jobs can nominate to have their wages put on the card. Okay, so there's a site, DSS laws and regulations type things, and I was trying to find some information for somebody else regarding the Cape York trial, because you can find all the information for all the different trial sites and the payments and everything like that on this. And I stumbled across this, that people can choose to have their wages put on the card if they want. And it's like, and that comes under the voluntary side of it. But the thing is, I would never volunteer for something that was going to automatically sell all my data to every stakeholder, US, Israel, UK, Spain. Why? Straight away, all of your personal information's gone. Your legal rights are gone. Well, I don't know about ones that are wages, because Indu has another side of the company that does pay people's wages onto a credit card. So they're cashless, so to speak. Do you know what I mean? But it doesn't hinder paying mortgages. It doesn't stop them from paying their normal bills, unlike the cashless debit card does. So, yeah. So let's keep going through these comments. Now this is an interesting comment, but it wouldn't work because it just wouldn't work. So somebody says here, government and welfare agencies are trying to come up with ideas to help people. No, they're not. They're privatising it out for profit, you dickhead. Sorry. Trial and error. So people want to be independent with no nanny state. Maybe they should be given their whole annual welfare entitlement to do with what they wish, but that is no more welfare till the next year. Would that be a better solution? No, our society is not set up for people to be able to pay a year's worth of rent, a year's worth of electricity or telephone, because that's like playing the lottery, isn't it? Or trying to see the future. You don't know how much your electricity bill is going to be until it comes in. You don't know how much your phone bill is if you've gone over or if you're on prepaid and when you're going to need data and stuff like that. No, too many variables there where people, I think the only bills, you could probably pay your rent up front for a year. And if you've got a car loan, you could probably pay that up front for a year. But the banks wouldn't like that, because if you're paying it up front, they're not making any money off the compound interest that they charge you per every month. So, no, that's not a solution. Our financial sector is not set up to be able to handle that in any way. Too many variables would leave people poor, because people would pay all these bills up front and they would be behind straight away. They would be in the red, because it would show how low our payments are. Yeah, it would definitely show that. But if people were forced to pay fixed amounts for their bills a year in advance, doing it that way, you'd have to guarantee that they're going to get enough money in their benefits to be able to pay those bills in the first place. People on Social Security rob Peter to pay Paul. They bounce the bills from one fortnight to another. Right? They divide them up. They put them into smaller payment portions. They go without. They miss one bill to catch up, pay the next bill. You take that ability to play that juggling game away and put it all on fixed, you'll find exactly how in the red and minus the Social Security system and the payments are. It would just cripple people, because within the first month they would have no money for the next 11 months working on that basis, and they would still have bills due, because the money's not enough to pay all the bills and fill the cupboards. And you can't buy 12 months worth of food when you need fresh stuff every week. Oh, but people need to learn to budget. Yeah, I can see that, but there wouldn't be enough left to do it, because it would all go on rent, electricity, telephone, internet, insurance, all right, car rego, school fees, etc. first. That's what most people would do if they've got kids, all right, and then there would be no money for food for the year. Not a good idea. So someone's trying to equate it to the health concession and the concession card. All right. Dehumanising. People use this to pay reduced fees on medicine. Public transport card, no different to using a card to pay for your groceries and rent. It's a card. No one takes the time to look at your card at the checkout. Yeah, okay, couldn't say if you have a Visa or MasterCard or which bank it comes from. No, it just has a very distinctive purple back, and everybody in every card region knows exactly what it looks like. Even when they took the Indu name off of it and issued new cards, people still knew what it was, because it is very distinctive. And the minute people pull it out, bingo, there it is. This card is to ensure taxpayer funds do get to where they're needed and should be used, therefore protecting the most vulnerable, especially children who go without if a parent would normally have spent it on drugs, alcohol and gambling. I believe they still get 20% of their payment to use, oh my God, as they see fit. I'm not sure why it's shameful to care for those who go without. Kim Mawson. Yeah, okay. Another one who has no clue. Oh, Jan Hughes, if you need help and it's offered, you should not spit on that help. Some people need help to manage their finances. This will help them learn to prioritise their spending habits when they are better off. I'm sorry. I'm going to be in a bit of a mood as we get through. The more nasty, or should I say the more condescending the comments, the more I'll get as well. And then she got slammed. She goes, somebody said to her, then let them choose to go on it. Most people will not willingly change unless change is forced upon them. They all think they are fine despite overwhelming evidence that they are not. If they do not like the help they offered, maybe get a job. See the fallback. So Ty comes back to Jan and says, this is being forced upon people who can manage money there quite well. Want to explain that? And then somebody just discovered that this Jan Hughes is a nurse and had a bit of a shot at her. As a nurse, your attitude disgusts me. Did you choose who you looked after based on your suck-it-up buddy attitude? Clearly you had no psych training, or if you did, you might not bother with your hero's empathy training courses. Oh, my God. And then Alison jumped in and reminded her, that a lot of people on the card have jobs, can finance their money. Damn bloody well, the card denies people the rents. Good luck when you try to move. You can't pay your bond with the card, bond cleans, etc. But you can go to Kmart, spend $1,000 on shit, but you can't pay your rent to keep a roof over your head. You know what I mean? I know I replied to her. I said, then please tell all the people on the card who have jobs, what do they do now? They don't earn enough to get off the card. They're stuck with it. Their finances are sold to the US, UK, Israel, and Spain, all their families' data, including their mothers. Okay? And then I had another go at her. I said, you also overlooked that Centrelink already has financial assistance, social workers in place for people with issues. We also have a thing called the court that decides capacity and the public trustee. People forced onto the card do not get their day in court. However, are branded guilty. Removal of the rule of law, presumption of innocence and non-discrimination, gone right there. Sold to a private company. Notice none of the panel were game to mention the removal of statutory rights, the right to remain silent. All right, seems Services Australia have overridden the police now. Removal of consumer protections as Indue and their stakeholder private companies are now protected against consumer law breaches they impose on forced card holders. Removal of privacy rights as Indue Services Australia share all your information with their stakeholders. Oh, and I put it in brackets, and we've already found out. One stakeholder in a trial region allowing a member of the public, a town gossip no doubt, to read a card holder's information on their files, then blurt it out around town. Now Services Australia and Medicare have leaked her address and contact details to the ex who nearly killed her. Oh, but she's on the card. She no longer has privacy, even in hiding from domestic violence. Removal of autonomy. Most of these people have never committed a crime, yet one huge crime is being committed against them. Right? This is how sick this is, okay? Indue Data Collect. Services Australia gladly hand over all that person's information. Then the stakeholders that are signed up with Indue have access to all of that information. Information they shouldn't have. So when a certain... I'm not going to name the institution, but it will come to that eventually. Right, who is supposed to be looking after a person, who's supposed to be a caseworker and support worker, right, supporting a woman who's on a disability, all right? So she's on a disability, but some of her disabilities are a result of a horrific domestic violence attack, right? These people are entrusted with that person's whole life, all of her information, right? And yet they allowed somebody in from the local town who is another business owner, right, owns a cafe, of all things, to stand around in their office and read this woman's file, right? And then she goes out and she starts telling everybody in town all this woman's business. Now, along the way, all right, this woman's been in hiding for 2 years. Now been discharged from that agency. They're no longer supporting her, right? And Medicare sent her new Medicare card to her ex-partner. Through that, he's accessed her MyGov. He's got her phone number. He's got her address. He's already been texting her the last couple of weeks, right? That's your privacy gone. And she's on the card and she can't do a damn thing about it because all the stakeholders have her information. And Medicare and Centrelink Services Australia are leaking information about women and hiding from DV all over the place. This week in the media, another lady sued them and because they straight out gave her ex her address. You know, it's getting ridiculous. This whole system entraps women into poverty, right? It keeps them down at heel. It traps them into domestic violence. And if they do get away from domestic violence and they go through the system and they go through the, in 2 regions, if you go through the DV Connect services, you get dumped in card regions and put on the card. And then, you know, you've gone through hell already, and then you've got the government to deal with dishing out that abuse. And then all of a sudden you find out that your perpetrators just found out where you've gone because somebody didn't do things right. Oh, sorry, the AVO expired. We moved you states, but it didn't actually apply in this state. So you can't apply for another one because it's been too long in between. The shit that they've been putting women through is bullshit. Sorry, yeah. You know, the fallout from being on this card. That woman can't run. She can't grab her kids and go and stay at any motel, hotel, or caravan park in that region or in most regions. You know? So, so obviously some people are still having a go at this Jan Hughes. And they're saying, you know, she hasn't clearly read up on things that are happening. And people have given her the links for the Say No 7 and No Cashless Debit Card Australia. And so David Summerfield's had a go at this Jan Hughes. Says the woman whose biggest life problem is that her overpriced electric blanket isn't machine washable. Oh, dear. So I've noticed Jan Hughes hasn't come back and she's copping a bit of a flogging. Yeah, so I'm just going through other comments here. And Say No 7's comments are up still. Good. Because they have a habit of disappearing sometimes too. I wonder if she's been blocked from... I don't know. It's, look. Let's have a look at the comments here and I'll talk to you guys for a minute. It is financial abuse, Susan, on a mass scale, and the government's totally unacceptable and needs to be stopped. Yeah. Indirect coercion is not voluntary in any way. That's right. It's coercive control. You know, coercive control. And see, like, they've got this program that they want to do about coercive control. And when I jumped up and down about the cashless debit card, I got banned from being able to see their comments on TikTok straight away. And the excuse given was, oh, it's in regards to personal. Hang on. I just had to remove a comment because there's a certain article that we don't allow on the page because it's not factual. As you know, we fact check all of our posts and all of our information to try and make sure that all the information is correct. Yeah, so a small matter of political corruption, I think it's called, the article, we don't allow on the page. Sorry, guys, but if I find it in the comments, I have to remove it. I'm not prepared to have this page or myself sued by any government official, which leaves our page open to do so with that post. Yeah, Ryan Gallagher, Indu have a department that's not for the cash debit card that doesn't default on people. Does this show? Indu have been around for quite a long time as a funds transfer company, and they're a registered ADI, and they say they're a bank, but they're not really a bank, but it's muddy, okay? They're not a bank in the conventional term of a bank. They're not signed up to the e-payments code. They're not signed up to the Centrelink code. and they're exempt from the money laundering acts. Okay. Indu has another side of the business. They do most of the funds transfers for the big banks for overseas monies. Okay. They're a big company. And on my travels through doing research on stuff, they also have connections with like the PCYC, and they pay the wages of their staff onto Indu credit cards. But that's an optional thing that they do. You know what I mean? And they offer all these services to make sure you get your payments for your mortgages are done and all that. But the cashless debit card, no, it's totally different. It's based on the SNAP food program, basically. Canada's a monthly payment. Try getting fresh at the end of the month. So is America. Most of America's Social Security is a monthly payment. Their housing allowances are done monthly on the 28-day system, right? But it's normally paid by the government. If they're in government housing, it's automatically paid by the government. Their housing allowance, they don't see any of that, right? The SNAP food program, they can't access cash. They're given an EFT card that they can go shopping with. In a lot of cases, they can't buy toiletries, they can't buy toilet paper, they can't buy soap or perfume or shaving, you know what I mean? It's got to be for food products. Each individual state in America has different restrictions on what foods can be bought, what processed foods. I mean, I saw one list, I think it was from Michigan. They couldn't have baked beans, they couldn't have lentils, they couldn't have white potatoes. You've got all your different varieties of potatoes. They could only have what I call yaks, the shittiest sweet potatoes that you could find. There's certain cuts of meat they can't have. Definitely can't have seafood. It's all based on religious doctrine, as you notice, because, it's disgusting. Their system is absolutely disgusting, and their SNAP program doesn't give anybody any cash. I think that, people, I don't think the public have woken up to the fact that Indu is a private company. They still seem to think that Centrelink's controlling this, the government's controlling it, and it's not. And Indu are completely untouchable. Completely untouchable. Oh my God. Susan Public, I've just recently landed myself in hospital as I did not have money to get my blood pressure meds and was close to death by the time I got to the hospital. This is a juggling act we do on a daily basis. I do not have a drug and alcohol gambling problem, but I struggle daily to make ends meet. Every day living, I care for my disabled son and gave up working to do that. As a result, I'm really suffering financially. Why then am I being punished for doing a good thing? That's disgusting. That is so disgusting. Our system is so broken. It's starving people. It's killing people. Darlene says pension card is helpful, but 2 people on multiple medications, even that has to be juggled. Yeah. People seem to think that you get all of your medications for $6.90. They can't think outside the bubble, can they? You get one on $6.90, or so. Or in a lot of cases, a lot of medications are not generic. A lot of people can't use generics. I can't. So you go in and you ask for what you need, and instead of it being $6.90, it's $11 something or $10 something. Or in the case of my Elicon cream, it went from $6.90 for my 10 tubes at one stage to $40. It's like, what? Because of the surcharge. Because I can't use the Novazone, which is the generic brand. It doesn't do anything. Plus, I'm allergic to aspirin, and a chemist notified me that aspirin's used in a lot of fillers for generics. So I don't use generics. So I very rarely get any medicines at discount price. I'm still going through your comments here. We can't do a class action unless somebody can find us a lawyer who can find a legal loophole. You need to find a point of law, and this card is lawful. right? So I notice my internet's lagging just a little bit, so if my speech is out of sync, still going through. Stephen Waterford says protesters outside Ryan Ramsey's office in the past phoned yesterday and told that they'd get back to me. Of course, they never did. I wanted to ask them why and when I would be forced onto the card at my age. If you're a pensioner, you'll be told that you won't be put on the card, okay? But they've started with the Cape York, or you'll be told that you can volunteer for the card. But don't worry, the pensioners are the last tranche, the last bus stop, so to speak. So it'll be a case of, you know, when they came for the unemployed, I didn't stand up. When they came for the disabled, I didn't stand up because it didn't affect me. It didn't impact me. Now it's come to me and there's no one left to stand up for me. That's going to be the case if people don't wake up and stand up. Or can I say, let's go back to these comments here. I'm just trying to, yeah, I don't know. Go over to their page anyway and have a look. See, I'm allowed to speak today until later. Yeah. So somebody here is has mentioned about people voting Keith Pitt in, right? Hang on. I'm just trying to find the gist of it. It doesn't matter. But remember, Keith Pitt's signing off on a mine in Bundaberg, in our fruit bowl, in our farming land. He wants to put a mine, open cut mine, because they're so stuck on coal, and with Twiggy Forest Company behind it, of course. Here we go again. You know, wherever Twiggy Forest is digging up the ground, the cashier's debit card shall follow. Because you've got to get people off the land. Do you know what really annoys me? Like Susan says, how can this abuse be lawful? And this is abuse, plain and simple, to remove the right to choose to control over people's coercive manner is still abuse, right? Because they made it law. They got it through the Senate and they got it assented and it's law. Slavery was legal once, right? Fascism was legal. You know, slavery, you name it. There's so many things that were legal. Apartheid was legal, is now illegal, but this is another way of bringing back apartheid. It is apartheid because you're setting people outside of the rule of law. You're setting people outside, they're having their consumer rights and their human rights breached. They're outside any protections under the law. So therefore, you've put them out. You've segregated them. That's apartheid. You have excluded them from your society and you've put them over there based on two things. The colour of the skin, it started out as that. Their social economic status. But now it's going to be based on social economic status. So what they're saying is your only value is to be a unit, a profitable unit, a productive unit. And if you're not productive enough, then we will make you a commodity. And we will sell you off to the private sector, right, who can make money off your poverty and misery, right? So they're commodifying the ones that they see as non-productive. Because you've got to get money from somewhere, right? Seriously, you know what I mean? Yeah, it's all about money. Money, 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 money. And it doesn't matter if you've got a job. And it's becoming very evident that if you earn under $125,000 a year, right, because that is the cutoff for the full family to lose family tax benefits part A and B, right, in order to completely be free of Centrelink and not receiving a dollar, right? Most people lose their payments before then. It cuts off at 94,000, but I'm using the 125,000 as the ceiling limit, so to speak. So if you're poorer than that and you're working and you're earning money, but you receive $1 of Centrelink payments, right? $1 of a trigger payment. And they say it's a trigger payment. You have to be receiving a trigger payment in order for your other payments to be impacted. I disagree. I've come across a lady who is not eligible for any trigger payments, right? Being a New Zealander, they're not eligible for payments. So if they've got kids, the only payment that they're eligible for is the family tax A and B. They're not eligible for family payment, okay? The parenting payment, which is the trigger payment. But why is she on the card? She doesn't receive a trigger payment, yet she's been put on the card for her family tax A and B because she's in the card region. Why? Again, the question has to be asked of a certain domestic violence service provider, why have they put her on the card? She doesn't receive a trigger payment. Well, we'll be looking into that one more as I can get information, because there's lots of rules being broken here. Lots of rules being broken here. You know? And it's not about, they're not changing the laws. They're going around the laws. So, Protections of Payments Act for Social Security is very clear. Social Security Protections of Payments, and you can Google that, right, will tell you that the person's income is protected against being usurped or taken over by a third party. They can't remove that. That is a law. That is, it's contract. It's Commonwealth Act, okay? They can't remove that law, but they had to go around it. So they used a legislative instrument in order to exempt those forced onto the card from the protection of that law. They went round it. Morrison said he'd find a way around the law, and he did. Right? And this is the problem. So, yeah. See if my comment works. Yes or no? Is it going to go? Oh, come on. Oh, I can comment again. They must have just put me off for half an hour. I don't know. Oh, dear, oh, dear. Yeah. Oh, James is off his band because he's here and he's posting everything. That's really good. That's really good. Whew. So people will have plenty of information. Stephen Lamp. I think it's a great idea. It will stop the welfare money being spent on tats, booze and smokes and more on family needs. You can have tattoos. Tattoos are not illegal. Right? However, there is one business in Bundaberg charging a $10 surcharge to use the Indu card to get your tattoo. I found that out from a lady who actually had a job and she had money stuck on her Indu card, and she wanted to pay half off her Indu card and half off her cash, of her, out of her own wages. And he said, no, I don't take any card. I only take Indu card or cash, and it's a $10 fee. And I haven't got it on this computer, but I've got the screenshot of his quote that included the $10 fee for Indu, which is totally illegal to do. But that shows how certain businesses, take advantage. All right? And then Scott, oh, they get a portion they withdraw as cash to spend at markets like they usually would. Oh dear, some of these people. You can have your tattoos, you can have your alcohol, and you can have your cigarettes. And if you know how to do it, you can have your drugs too. But you can't pay a car loan. Well, you can now. But up until about a year ago, most people couldn't pay off their car loans. Now you get approved, you can use, wait for it, Money 3 at 24.95% interest. You can take out a loan on an $8,000 car over 5 years and you'll pay $16,000 because you're poor, right? And it's expensive to be poor, right? And you'll pay $220 a fortnight and that's okay. They'll even allow Indu to do that direct debit for you. Not in all cases. I've met some people who have been told, no, you have to use your cash portion. I think it's up to the staff on the day, right? But then I found somebody else had been approved by a firm called Unicorn, who have just been on a current affair being investigated for ripping single parents and people off with lemon cars. So you can buy from companies that are dodgy, that don't protect you and sell you a lemon car at the highest amount of interest over, so you pay double and they don't fix the cars. Geez, sounds like wizard finance, doesn't it? And you can pay the most expensive things with your card, but you can't buy, you could have $5,000, $7,000 stuck on your card. You can't take that money and go out there and buy yourself a decent second-hand car privately, right, without one hell of a fight. You have to apply for permission. You have to hand over the VIN number, the registration. Well, you can't get the registration of the vehicle, as in the registration papers, till you've bought the damn thing. Must have a roadworthy. Not every state requires a roadworthy. South Australia, you don't need a roadworthy when you sell a car. You only do a roadworthy if the car's been unregistered for 7 years or more. Or unless it gets defected and it has more than 4 defects, then you have to go over the pits. Each state is different. Some vehicles don't even require a roadworthy. I had a guy in Kalgoorlie wanted to buy a quad bike for his disabled brother, and they said no because he couldn't get registration papers for it. That's because WA don't issue registration papers for quad bikes. Ugh, you know, there's all these different rules, but everybody has to spend the most, the maximum, right? It's disgusting. You can buy your white goods at Harvey Norman, but you can't buy them at Better Electrical. Why is that? Because Better Electrical will probably do you a better deal than Harvey Norman, and Harvey Norman's one of the favoured few. He gets to keep his $26 million of JobKeeper money, doesn't he? You know, need I say? Oh, and of course he's got his fingers in the NDIS pie for being the chosen provider for the mobility aids. Go to Harvey Norman to buy your mobility aids using your NDIS funding. How convenient. So he gets to funnel NDIS money, he gets to funnel cashless debit card money to his business. Isn't this a lovely stitch up for the LNP approved businesses where they can funnel the money to their mates' businesses? Right? Not a coincidence. Yeah, so I'm still there's lots of comments here. I'm not going to keep going through them all. They're just driving me nuts anyway. And I'm glad everybody jumped in with the correct information and stuff like that. It's a pity that ABC didn't post the whole thing. I'm very disappointed that they didn't post the initial question from Edward Carroll. That's disgusting that they've done that. Do you know what I mean? Susan Pavlik says, stop the booze. They say, well, RPM should be on it then because he spent $83,000 on refilling his wine cellar. Oh, my God. $83,000. That's nearly as bad as in the last 3 months that, no, it's even worse, isn't it? $83,000 on refilling his wine cellar. What's he doing? He's buying up all of the Penfolds. Oh, he missed out on the free Penfolds bottle that Alan Tudge got for putting the card into the Cash's debit card. Region in Ceduna, I remember that. They exchanged a free bottle of Penfolds, about a $700 bottle. All right, they all went out for drinks afterwards once they'd signed the deal to put people on the Cash's debit card at Ceduna as well. So $83,000 on wine for his cellar. I bet he's stocking up so that he's got a lifetime's worth of collectible wines. Yeah, Tony Abbott, in the last 3 months of him being Prime Minister, drank $7,000 worth of spirits. Oh, well, these people are such hypocrites, aren't they? They're the ones that have the... Julie Harding and his scummo wears a white gold Rolex watch. Yeah, they underplayed the cost of that. They put up, it was about $30,000 watch. It's actually a $45,000 to $60,000 watch. I mean, that watch costs more than, 3 people receiving job seeker get in a year. And he's got it on his wrist. That says it all, doesn't it? He values something on his wrist that costs the equivalent of 3 people's Social Security for a year. And that's, yeah. But giving those people that money so they can eat and pay their rent and survive, no. No. His God only rewards him for his little trinkets. He hasn't figured out yet that when it goes at the end, he goes the same way as he came in, with nothing, in his birthday suit. Right? Can't take it with you. Right? And yeah, I'm not religious, but I can tell you now, whoever's at the pearly gates knows who's who. Well, that's what I was brought up with anyway. Honestly, these people... I'm just checking out, because I can't help myself. Oh, so, so Susan says, but surely this needs to be challenged in court. Attack on those who are at least able to help themselves. Being poor is not a crime, is it? I would like to see a card holder be able to get a solicitor, because it has to be a card holder. It can't be somebody who's not on the card. And actually, and I've heard of cases where some card holders have moved out of an area, they've gone to a family solicitor and they've gotten off the card like that. So there's got to be ways. But see, you're kept so poor that, and you're so in survival mode that it's really hard to fight and you can't get a lawyer. You can't, legal aid, you can't do anything because that's criminal, and legal aid's resources have been cut down to, they'll only help you if you're pleading guilty for something, but, so you're relying on community legal services, which at the moment I've tried to get them involved and they don't ring back. There was another lawyer in Victoria that was helping people with their rights issues on another matter which I can't mention, and she's been stripped of her legal, her bar, because she's helping people. In the last thing I saw, she was helping elderly people against the government, and they've struck her off the register as a lawyer. So it's really difficult. One day somebody will get a decent lawyer, but you've got to have a lawyer that's got the guts to say, right, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, we can take this. But again, you've got to find that point of law. So until that day, we have to educate the public. all right? And we have less than 12 months to educate the public, all right? Because December 2022, if we don't get a change of government, and we can't change this, as of 2022, it'll roll out everywhere and it'll be permanent. That's what I think will happen. They will try and sign up so many contracts between now and then, right, behind closed doors, and they will try and stitch it up. But we need to change the government, because nothing will change with this government in place. It'll only just get worse. It'll just get worse. Yeah, so anyway, I think I better go and get some breakfast, because I've rambled on long enough here, and I'm glad that Q&A finally put something up, but I'm still really miffed that they didn't have the courage to put it all up. All right? I think that's wrong. That's fair. It's not fair. And the way they framed their question is so that they've aimed it. They've put their own question up, right? Instead of putting up Edward Carroll's video question and then the replies like they normally would. We've got that on this page, by the way, because we got hold of it that night and put it up straight away. Their question is, does the cashless welfare card rob users of their autonomy? Keith Pitt says all of the feedback he's received has been strongly supportive of the scheme, while Sarah Hanson-Young says she's had feedback from people who say it's demonising and shameful. I want to know why no one will mention the removal of the consumer rights, protections, the laws, the legal rights, and the human rights breaches. Why won't they mention them? Why are they keeping this softly and saying, oh, it's a stigma and it's about what you can't buy? No, it's about the removal of your civil and economic rights and human rights, legal protections. Why isn't anybody screaming about that? Where are our civil rights activists? Where are our human rights activists? Where are our human rights lawyers? Hello? Anyway, I'm going. I've got to have some breakfast, because you know how it goes. Have a Snickers. I'll see you later. Bye.